go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the bridge, dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello, welcome to You've Seen It Before, Movie Reviews Connections of Mind. Alien Romulus is the newest film in the Alien franchise, coming off the heels of 2017's Alien Covenant. However, this film takes place between the first two films in the series, Alien and Aliens, on the timeline. This time is directed by Fede Alvarez, and this time we are focusing on a group of young folk on a Weyland-Yutani colony who sneak aboard a space station of the company, thinking that they have found their salvation from the terrible colony that they are on, only to find that they have been experimenting with xenomorphs and the usual chaos and killing ensues. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Alien Romulus, well, certain other things. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first and foremost, but just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review. So, first things first, let's get into some spoiler-free talk on Alien Romulus. Is it a good alien movie? Is it a good horror movie, sci-fi horror movie in general? Is it a good theater experience? I would say, as far as sci-fi horror movies go, I would say this definitely hits the mark. It is pretty darn effective in terms of building tension, especially in right around the midpoint. There's a scene in particular that I was like, okay, this is some genuine suspense going on here. And, as far as horror film goes, there is definitely some, disturbing content on that and genuinely horrifying. So, from a horror standpoint, I would say it checks out there. Now, the metrics that I think a lot of people are going to measure this on is this a good alien movie? Well, first things first, I took it upon myself to rewatch all of the Alien films prior to seeing Romulus, and my personal feeling, and again, it's generally acknowledged that after the first two movies, the quality has been inconsistent at best. I think is a generous way to put that. And each movie has its own fans. I think, especially Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection are currently going through a bit of a reappraisal. I think, at least now, they're getting to that age where that sort of thing is happening. But for my money, my personal feelings on all the Alien films are, Alien is still my personal favorite of the Alien franchise. I do it as a double feature with the original Predator every Halloween. So that's, for my money, is that. And obviously Aliens is a great movie. A great action movie, definitely raises the stakes of the Alien universe perfectly. James Cameron did a great job. And then after that, Alien 3, I think you definitely need to watch. If we're only talking about the assembly cut, the special edition that they did in '03 or whatever, not the theatrical version, that is the much better version, even though you got your iconic scenes here. One iconic scene in Alien 3, and then that's pretty much it. It's kind of a confusing mess. Alien Resurrection, I will say, alien action, not great. However, it's surprisingly funnier than I remember it being. And it's okay. I would not rank it among the highest, of course, but that is, it was fine. Prometheus, which is the fifth film in the franchise, which is the prequel movie, and I don't care for it. I think it's it's fine for what it is, but it's the characters make bafflingly stupid decisions, and we're all just that's the worst of the horror movie trope, where it's like, oh, we got these characters who should make the right decisions. They're all scientists; they should make the right decisions, but they're all acting really dumb. So there's that. And, I think it's saved by Numero Passes and Michael Fassbender's acting together. That's what saves the movie for me. And then finally, Alien Covenant is better than Prometheus, I think, but still is still trying to technically apologize for a lot of stuff from Prometheus, I think, walk some things back and focus more on the alien stuff, which even the alien stuff in that is kind of lame, in my opinion. So, all that to be said, going into Alien Romulus, is this better than, if we're talking Alien and Aliens, as you're not going to surpass those, in my opinion, and this movie doesn't. But where does it rank in the other Alien movies? I would say this is definitely the third best. If we're talking Aliens, I would say Romulus ranks as number 3 at this point, in my money, because for the first, I'll call it 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of the movie, this is a genuinely effective Alien movie in that it's not overly pandering, even though, again, we'll get to that, but it very well establishes that this is happening in the same universe as the original Alien movie and Aliens, because it's taking place between these two. But it is actually, forging its own little corner of it. It's like, hey, a lot of stuff happened between when, Ripley went into her pod at the end of the first movie and then she got woken up in the second movie, but it's happening over here, right? And it's not beholden necessarily to that. There are references, especially, a couple things, but for the most part, I think it actually builds an effective Alien movie. And I will say, there are a whole ton of practical effects as well, and the practical effects look great. There's some, great face hugger. The face huggers look a little shaky, especially in one scene, but the xenomorph, when we finally see the xenomorph coming out, not digital, all practical effects, and it looks just as good, in my opinion, as the original Alien from '79. I mean, this thing looks fantastic. And also the characters, I will say, especially, I'll call it the main duo. There is Kylie Spaney plays a girl named Rain, and David Johnson plays Andy, who is the android synthetic in this, and Andy plays, he is its own unique kind of android, and distinct from Ash and Bishop and David, all the other synthetics that we've seen, and that's an effective thing, and they have a great dynamic together. And Andy, who's the synthetic, was programmed to basically protect Rain. And they have though they're not biologically, they call her, she calls him my brother, and, there's that dynamic going on, and there's a great heartwarming thing. Even the other characters, who in a horror movie, you're basically expecting, all right, in any other movie, you're like, all right, how long before, this character gets axed off, or this character? I think, for the most part, all the other characters do a really good job of establishing their identity, and establishing, not lingering on, oh man, why am I, I'm clueless, I'm totally gonna get killed off, and, just to show how powerful the creature is. I think they do a pretty good job of staying away from that. They form pretty strong identities for the most part. Now, that's not to say this movie is perfect, and it's definitely not. And really, most of the problems are confined to the last third or quarter-ish of the movie. Whereas, a lot of movies you'll say, it's like, there's a movie where it's like, oh man, the rest of the movie was, was so great, was so-so, but the ending was what really rocketed it up. Or, on the flip side, is say like, oh yeah, the movie was going up, but then it just lost me at the end. This movie, I don't think it loses me at the ending, but it does knock it down quite a few pegs by the ending, just because this movie, there are a couple references in the middle. One, one a little more subtle than the other. But then it feels like, it's almost like a kid who's like, all right, who's, the parents tells them, it's like, all right, wait till the, you take their kid to like a family function or whatever. It's like, okay, you're going to wait till after dinner, and then you can, play grandma's Xbox or whatever. And the kid's just like, all right, on their best behavior. It's like, all right. And then, and then by the end, it's like, all right, now you can go. It's like, whoopee! And then it's like, then they go have their fun, and it's insane. This movie, it's like puts almost all the pandering, fan servicey references in the last quarter of the movie, and not a single one of them feels earned, and a lot of them just feel cringy as hell. And it's like, why? You were doing so well. Why would you do that right at the very end? I mean, that had to have been like a Disney contract thing or whatever, because it's like, the studio's like, oh, we gotta, the Alien fans are not going to be satisfied unless we put in these references. And that never works in these kinds of, prequel sequels or whatever. It's kind of like, with the Terminator franchise, they keep fitting in weird, shoehorning in, I'll be back into there, thinking that, that's going to be a big crowd roaring moment. But every single one of them, it's like, no, that's just cringe at this point. And the same can be said with this one. Like I said, it doesn't ruin this movie, but it does knock it down a whole bunch of pegs for my money. But overall, I would say this movie is probably the best Alien sequel since Aliens, pretty much by default, in my opinion. So if I was going to give Alien Romulus a letter grade, I would say this is a B-. Above average, but not by much. Its grade got hurt severely by the ending. Like, if this is an essay, in your school paper, you made great points in the opening in your body, but you couldn't quite wrap it up by the end. So that's what hurts it. So, yeah, those are my main spoiler-free thoughts on Alien Romulus. Now let's get into spoiler talk as certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. So there are a couple things, and I feel like the best parallel to be made here is because this is now a 20th Century Studios, you can't say Fox anymore or whatever, it's 20th Century Studios, it's now owned by Disney. There's a great parallel to be made here with Rogue One. Because, and also to a lesser extent, Andor, because, from a set design perspective, they did a fantastic job of making it look like, 70s era, computer scientists, William Tani, because a lot of, I think, especially for my money, a lot of people complained about especially in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, all of the technology got a huge upgrade. Everything's touch screens and holograms or whatever, and it's like, why? Yes, we know why they did it, because, in the 70s they didn't have the technology to focus on all that stuff, whatever. And but here it feels so much better. And just like Rogue One and Andor, recreated the kind of Star Wars type practical effect aesthetics that harken back to what they were using for computers in the late 70s, just to do sci-fi. That's what it looks like. And it looks phenomenal. And like I said, the practical effects, when aside from a couple of things here and there, it looks great. However, the flip side of that, and again, parallel to Rogue One, is the janky deepfake technology that they're doing. Just like, if you watch again, it looked fine for a split second, in the theater, but every time you watch Rogue One, that weird looking Peter Cushing face superimposed on the stunt double, it just looks weird. And the same thing is done with Ian Holmes' Ash in this movie, except now he's playing the Rook, which I thought, the only reason I think they called him Rook is because it's like, oh, hey, Bishop, and then Rook, you're going chess pieces, so maybe it's another Lance Hendrickson. They had to have, thought of Lance Hendrickson in mind with this, and then just de-age Lance Hendrickson. And then he backed out last week, and then it's like, all right, well, let's just do a deep fake Ian Holm, and then they just kept the name. That had to have been how it goes down. But my gosh, that deep fake look, it does not look good at all. Like, I swear, his head looks too small for his body. It looks weird. And I'm usually one where, I don't usually get weirded out by these deepfakes. Like, I thought that, Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian, when they did the deepfake of Luke, I thought, for what it was, it looked okay. This, no. And, I think they're now saying the excuse is like, oh, well, it's, supposed to be off-putting because you're in a horror movie. It's like, no, you don't get to use that card. It just looks weird. Especially with, certain conditions, it looks okay, especially if being viewed through, like, the CRT screen, monitor screen, it looks okay. But for the most part, no, it looks terrible. So there's that comparison to be made. And also, the scene that I think was the best tension-wise was when they had to cross the corridor with all of the facehuggers, and they determined that, oh, well, they have no eyes. They're hunting on infrared heat signature, but they can also hear you. So we're going to turn the temperature up to match your body temperature, but you just have to be really quiet going through. That made me think a lot of the last couple episodes of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 3, where the primitives, these Inhumans that have been created, they're monsters, and they can't see very well, but they're hunting on hearing and infrared temperatures. So they turn the heat up in the base in order so that they can walk around just really quietly to avoid them. And again, very similar there. I think tension-wise, this movie did it better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did. But that's, those are some points of comparison to be made there. And then also, there's some great innovative scenes in this movie, I think. I really liked the scene where, when they come, Chekhov's gravity generator or whatever, when that finally comes around and, they're like, oh, we can't shoot all these aliens because, we're right against the hull, and if their acid blood's going to create a hull breach and we'll all get sucked out into space. So they turn off the gravity, and, then they kill the aliens, so then they have to navigate the corridor floating in the pools of all the acid blood. That's a great scene, I think. That was great innovative, even though the practical mind, if you think about it for a second, it's like, well, even in zero G, it don't just stop there. There is velocity imparted, so even when they're getting blasted apart, you think at least some of the blood would be hitting the hull at that point. But whatever, I think it looked really good. But like I said, the references at the very end, if it was just Jakey Ian Holm deepfake and you zoom up to the xenomorph with the screwdriver, sticking in the back of it. And it's like, okay, that's enough for that. But then, of course, they had to shoehorn it. I swear, it was not a full theater, in this Thursday screen I was in. But by the time you get, Andy with the pulse rifle shooting the alien to the bottom of the elevator shaft, whatever, he says, get away from her. It's like, please don't say it. Please don't say it. Please don't say it. And then it pauses way too long. And then he goes, you bitch. It's like, really? I literally groaned in the theater, and someone, I heard someone else, across the auditorium also go, ugh. So it's like, why? Why would you do that? And then, of course, they had to, slot in the one iconic scene from Alien 3 with, Ripley, with the alien going on right there in her face. Which, all right, cool. You can fit in that little moment. That's not hugely distracting. But then, again, the practical effects look great, which only makes the CG creations look that much more out of place. And for one thing, why are we redoing the newborn storyline from Alien Resurrection? Because pretty much everyone who's seen Alien Resurrection agrees that was such a stupid idea. And also, but at the very least, that was still a practical effect. Even though it was stupid, at least looked okay. But this CGI newborn, I don't know what they're calling it, but Voldemort meets Xenomorph. This thing looks horrible, and it does not look like it's there for an instant. And it's like, why did we do that? That makes no sense. Like I said, these are the kind of things that made me say the ending didn't ruin it, but it definitely knocked this movie down several pegs in my estimation. So, like I said, those are my main thoughts on Alien Romulus. What did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree, disagree? Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my next movie review, which I believe if the schedule holds will be for Beetlejuice, which comes out September 6th. As well as keep an eye out for, we're getting close to the season premiere of Season 2 of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power on Amazon Prime. So once that season is done, I'll be doing a season review of that. And if you like this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. Again, thank you so much for watching. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.